Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the SWUS. NFC Championship game. NFL playoffs have been kind to us. I'm 8-2 against the spread, up a good amount in these playoffs. Kind of hard for me to be all cheery and happy right now because I just got rocked on NBA Friday night. Wow, probably my worst NBA night of the year. And things were leveling off too, because I had that crazy heater. I was like a week and a half, 2 weeks where I just couldn't miss. And then I had a little cold stretch. It was 5 days, 5 out of 6 days were losing days. And then it leveled off. I was like breaking even, slight win, slight loss, breaking even. I was back to grinding. But this Friday night, man, whatever. I'm rambling about an NBA night. By the time you guys watch this, it'll probably be Saturday night, and Friday night NBA will be long in the past. I'm rambling. Anyway, Lions 49ers NFC Championship game. Let's do it.
Welcome to the SWUS. The SWUS. SWUS. Hey, get the SWUS.
All right, so obviously this game's being played in San Francisco. 49ers are now laying 7.5 points, and the total sitting at 51.5. Action's looking pretty split in this one. Slime was at 7 pretty much all week. And then Friday morning, it got bumped up to 7.5. I don't know if that's a result of money coming in. I'm sure Deebo Samuel getting upgraded to probable probably had something to do with that line movement as well. As far as the total, data showing action coming in pretty heavy on the over here. Number was at 51 for most of the week. Now it's looking like we got 51.5s across the board. And actually, I see a couple 52s open as I'm recording this. Looks like 52s are opening up. Bet Rivers and Caesars already have it at 52. Let's talk injuries. Lions offense going to be without Khalif Raymond again. He hasn't played at all in the playoffs. He's their wide receiver 4, and he also returns kicks for them. No Jonah Jackson in this game, and that's a big one. If you remember, he missed, I think it was from week 6 to 9, somewhere in there. He missed 3 or 4 games, and the Lions run game really took a hit without him. So the Lions missing their left guard, Jonah Jackson, in this one. Lions defense officially getting James Houston back from injury. It's official. He is off the injury report. I know he said that there was a chance he was coming back last week. He didn't. He's back now. He's been out since week 2. I'm actually going to insert the clip from last week's episode to explain who James Houston is if you don't know. Now, if you don't know who James Houston is, he was a 6th round pick rookie last year out of Jackson State. He played on Deion's team, on Coach Prime's Jackson State team 2 years ago. 6th round pick. He got called up from the practice squad with 7 games to go last year. Remember when the Lions got hot the second half of the season last year? So they called this kid up from the practice squad. He had 8 sacks in 7 games. Now, Aiden Hutchinson obviously is the star. He's the 1st round pick. He's from Michigan and all that. So he got all the press, but Hutchinson only had 4 sacks in this span. James Houston had 8, and they had high hopes for this kid this season. Unfortunately, he got hurt in week 2. He's been out ever since, but looks like he might be back for this one on the edge opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. So Houston is back. Alex Anzalone was on the injury report. He was listed as questionable, but it looks like they took him off. So from what I'm seeing here, he should be good to go. On the San Francisco side, no injuries to the San Francisco 49er offense, and that includes Deebo Samuel. He's been taken off the injury report. On the defensive side, obviously 49ers are still missing their safety, Hufanga. He's out for the season. So actually, we took him off this graphic, but he's out. Other than that, they got a linebacker listed as questionable, Burks. He did participate in a light practice on Friday, though, so it looks like he's got a shot at playing. Before we get into the numbers, this video is brought to you by Edge Boost. They're the first bet now, play later provider that enables you to double your bet at any sportsbook or DFS site with no interest. They're also sponsoring an NFL playoff pick'em with exclusive deposit match bonus. Link is in the bio of this video if you're interested. So let's match these two teams up on the field. We'll start with the Lions passing offense on the season. Great marks here. 7th in DVOA, 5th in yards per pass attempt, and 4th in passer rating. Jared Goff has been excellent in the postseason so far. In his 2 playoff starts, he's completing over 74% of his passes, 564 yards, over 8 yards per attempt, 3 touchdowns, no picks, and a 112.7 passer rating. That being said, we have to talk about the splits, and you know what splits I'm talking about. We're talking about Jared Goff on the road here, not just on the road, but outdoors as well. We'll start with Jared Goff's home-away splits. As you can see, he's been a monster at Ford Field this year, and it was the same thing last year. At home this year, he's completing 71% of his passes, 8.1 yards per attempt, 22 touchdowns to 6 picks, and a 108.7 passer rating. On the road, those numbers are significantly lower. Same goes for the indoor-outdoor splits as well. You can see his road games indoors, Chargers, Saints, Vikings, Cowboys. So Vikings, Cowboys, Saints, I mean, not terrible defenses in there. He's got great numbers still. So he can play on the road as long as it's indoors. You can see the 5 road games he's played in the outdoors. Not great. 5 touchdowns, 4 picks, and 82 passer rating. Jared Goff on the road outdoors is not the best spot for him. And what are we looking at here? Jared Goff on the road outdoors. That being said, Jared Goff plays in the NFC North, which means his road games every year are going to be Chicago, Green Bay, Lambeau Field. This is San Francisco, and the weather's supposed to be fine. In fact, it's supposed to be completely dry, no precipitation, and we can see highs in the 70s, so the weather's going to be perfect for Goff here. And not only that, remember, Jared Goff started his career with the Rams. We've seen him play great games in this stadium. I mean, mostly early in his career. You can see the last 2 starts in this stadium, not quite as good, but it's not like we haven't seen him play well in this stadium before. Sure we have. But now we got to bring up the 49ers pass defense, which is obviously great this year. 4th in DVOA, 5th in yards per pass attempt allowed, 4th in opponent passer rating. We just saw Jordan Love come into San Francisco, a red hot Jordan Love, by the way, as I'm sure you heard on last weekend's video. Jordan Love was playing as well as any quarterback in the NFL entering that game. Against the 49ers, just 194 yards, 5.7 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, and a 72.4 passer rating. It was his worst performance, Jordan Love, his worst performance since week 10 against the Steelers. And the difference maker for San Francisco's defense was the pressure. According to PFF, they pressured Jordan Love on 40% of his dropbacks in this game, despite blitzing on just 5.7% of his dropbacks. Jordan Love's 13 dropbacks when pressured in that game were not good. 4.8 yards per attempt, 1 pick, a 34.8 passer rating. So the 49ers pressure is what really got to Jordan Love here. Now, the 49ers pass rush as a whole is definitely not what it was last year, but it's still solid. On the season, they're just 17th in adjusted sack rate, 6th in pressure rate, 6th in hurry rate, 9th in hit rate. So the pass rush hasn't quite been the 49ers pass rush of last season, but it's still good. And this is extremely important because how do you beat Jared Goff? You pressure him. You can see Jared Goff on the season, when given a clean pocket amongst 42 qualified quarterbacks, 2nd in passer grade, tied for 6th in interceptions, 2nd in turnover-worthy play rate, and 2nd in passer rating. When pressured, 27th, 41st, 34th, 26th. I'd say there's a little bit of a difference there. And it gets even worse when you look at Jared Goff's numbers under pressure on the road. Now we're getting a little deep here. So this is Jared Goff's numbers when pressured on the road amongst 46 qualified quarterbacks, tied for dead last, 0 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, which is also tied for dead last, 40th in passer rating. So yeah, safe to say this hasn't been the best spot for Jared Goff. But the good news for Detroit is their offense is not completely reliant on Jared Goff. They got one of the best rushing attacks in the NFL. I mean, they're 4th in DVOA, 1st in adjusted line yards, 5th in yards per carry as a team on the season. That being said, the run game really hasn't lived up to expectations to start the playoffs. In the first 2 playoff games, the Lions are averaging just 96.5 rushing yards per game on 3.78 yards per carry. I mean, this is a team that averaged 136 yards per game and 4.6 yards per carry on the season. And yeah, you could be like, oh, well, they played the Bucs. The Bucs have a great run defense. This is the playoffs. I mean, everyone's got a great run defense. And also, their other game was against the Rams, who don't really have a great run defense. Now, if you split the 2 backs up, it's really David Montgomery that's struggling to get it going more so than Gibbs. But still, the Lions run game as a whole, definitely below expectations. But I have some good news for the Lions. This 49ers run defense is definitely not what it was last year. In fact, it's not even close. Last year, this was probably the best run defense in the NFL, 2nd in DVOA, 1st in yards per carry, 2nd in adjusted line yards. This year, 15th, 17th, 10th. We just talked about what the 49ers defense did to Jordan Love last week. Look what the Packers run game did. 28 carries, 136 yards. That's 4.9 yards per carry. Packers were running the ball on the 49ers, and the Packers run game's been hot. But, I mean, it's not as good as the Lions run game. Situational stats on this side of the ball, edge definitely goes to Lions offense. 9th on 3rd down, 2nd in the red zone. 49ers defense, 27th and 12th. But now we flip it over to the other side of the ball, and we'll talk about the weakest unit on the field in this game, the Lions pass defense. On the season, they're 16th in DVOA, 30th in yards per pass attempt allowed, and 24th in opponent passer rating. And as you've probably heard me say on this YouTube channel 1,000 times, the collapse happened after week 6, man. In weeks 1 through 6, they were 9th in EPA per dropback, 12th in success rate per dropback, 78.8 passer rating, 6.26 yards per attempt. Look at the numbers from week 7 on, including last week. 30th, 27th, damn near 100 passer rating, 8.36 yards per attempt. And it really hasn't shown signs of getting better. I mean, even in the 2 playoff games where the Lions won, Matt Stafford and Baker Mayfield combined to complete 66% passes, 5 touchdowns, 2 picks, a 106.8 passer rating. So Lions pass defense is still struggling despite them winning games. As we know, the backbone of the Lions pass defense is the pass rush. They're 1st in pressure rate, 2nd in hurry rate, 2nd in hit rate, just 22nd in sack rate though. So they've had problems getting the quarterback to the ground, but they are generating consistent pressure. The thing is, Brock Purdy has excellent numbers under pressure this year. when pressured, second, fourth, 30th in turnover-worthy play rate. So he's making mistakes when pressured. Fourth in pressure to sack rate, fifth in passer rating. I mean, these are pretty great with the exception of the turnover-worthy play rate. Speaking of Brock Purdy, we got to bring up that he looked really mediocre last week, completing just 59% of his passes, 252 yards, 6.5 yards per attempt, a touchdown, and 86.7 passer rating. Definitely not elite numbers here against a bad Packers pass defense that's been even worse on the road. Green Bay's pass rush was getting there, man. According to PFF, they pressured Brock Purdy on 42% of his dropbacks, and his numbers were terrible when pressured. 7 of 16, 6.4 yards per attempt, a 65 passer rating. So Brock Purdy has great numbers on the season when pressured, but last week he was bad when pressured. Now, to be fair to Brock Purdy, what those numbers don't tell us is that the weather was shitty. I mean, he was clearly having problems gripping the football. Not only that, as we all know, Deebo Samuel missed a lot of the game, which that offense really needs him on the field. So there's some extenuating factors here. But overall, Brock Purdy's number is terrible under pressure last week. How about Brock Purdy's numbers versus the blitz? Detroit blitzes a lot, 4th highest blitz rate in the NFL. And he's got great numbers against the blitz. 1st in yards per attempt, 5th in completion percentage, 6th in passer grade, 3rd in big time throw rate, 1st in passer rating. And even in the Green Bay game, where he had bad numbers under pressure, he still was pretty good against the blitz. When the Packers did send a blitz, he had a touchdown, no picks, and a 106 passer rating. Now, we do have to bring up Brock Purdy's postseason numbers here. And if you're looking at this, they don't look that different. Passer rating 111 to 101. It's not too bad. 9.2 yards per attempt to 8 yards per attempt. It doesn't look that bad. But the thing to keep in mind, Brock Purdy went absolutely nuts in his first ever playoff game against the Seahawks last year. 11.1 yards per attempt, 3 touchdowns, and 131 passer rating. Look at the playoff games since then, and it's been about 2.5 games. He played 2 this year, and then he got injured early in the Eagles game last year. But they're not good. So basically the point I'm making is Brock Purdy hasn't played an elite playoff game since the Seahawks first round, or I believe that was the divisional round of last year. Correction, that was the wild card round. Right after I said that, Prop Beaver corrected me. So that was the wild card round last year. Now let's figure out if we can count on run support for Brock Purdy here. They got their hands full, man. Lions run defense has been elite all year. They're 1st in DVOA. So DVOA-wise, this is the best run defense in the NFL. They're 6th in adjusted line yards, 5th in yards per carry. I mean, a lot of people would say this is the best run defense in the NFL. That being said, Detroit really hasn't looked like the best run defense so far in the playoffs. The 4 running backs they've seen, the 4 main backs, Kyron Williams, Edmonds, Rivers, White, those 4 guys combined for 4.96 yards per carry. So maybe some dents in the armor here for the Lions run defense. And on top of that, those backs had some success out of the backfield too. 10 catches, 98 yards, 9.8 yards per reception. And that brings up a huge point here when it comes to the Lions run defense. What rushing attacks have they seen this year? Do you know all year the Lions have only seen 3 teams in the top 10 of rushing DVOA? The Bears twice, 4 teams. The Bears twice, the Ravens, and the Rams. In those 4 games, they're allowing 134.8 rushing yards per game on 4.5 yards per carry. So the 4 times the Lions saw a good rushing attack, they were run on. And this isn't just a good rushing attack. This is Christian McCaffrey and the 49ers. I mean, they're 2nd in DVOA, 2nd in adjusted line yards, 4th in yards per carry. Last week, San Francisco had no problems running the ball in Green Bay. 24 carries, 111 yards on the ground, 2 rushing touchdowns, and they've been on an absolute warpath heading into the playoffs. If you exclude Week 18, because Christian McCaffrey sat, a lot of the starters sat, if you include that game, their final 6 regular season games, they average 156 rushing yards per game, 5.6 yards per carry, and 1.7 rushing touchdowns per game. During that span, they were 1st in EPA per rush and 1st in success rate per rush. So this 49ers run game was red hot entering the playoffs, and after watching last week's game against Green Bay, they still look pretty red hot. And then you take into account that the Lions defense has also had problems limiting backs out of the backfield in the passing game. I mean, we're talking about Christian McCaffrey here. It sounds like a nightmare. Situational stats on this side of the ball, edge definitely goes to the 49ers offense. Not as bad on 3rd downs, but definitely a huge edge in the red zone. Got an underdog pick 'em here. It's a 3 pick, so it pays out 6 times. Going with Brock Purdy lower than 279.5 pass yards. Christian McCaffrey higher than 35.5 receiving yards. Jamison Williams higher than 28.5 receiving yards. I think he makes a big play. Like I said, it's a 3 pick, so it pays out 6 times. If you don't have an Underdog fantasy account, it's available in any state highlighted in this map. So if you're in one of these states highlighted in yellow, head over to the website or download the app Underdog Fantasy. When you make your account, make sure you use the promo code BET, B-E-T. That'll get you a $100 deposit bonus match. So you deposit $100, they will give you a free $100 to play with. As far as what I'm betting in this game, I'm on Detroit here. I'm taking the points. I was on the Packers without hesitation last week, and I mean, that was the right side start to finish. I know the weather was a factor. I know Debo got hurt, but I still feel that was the right side regardless of those two situations. I don't see any reason not to do the same thing here. I mean, shit, the Packers could have won that game last week. My main reasoning is I just think this entire 49ers team is a bit overvalued right now. And when I say overvalued, I'm not saying they're bad. I'm not saying they're not going to win. I just think each unit, I don't fully trust Brock Purdy right now as far as an elite quarterback, and he's getting priced as an elite quarterback. He's getting priced like he's Patrick Mahomes, and I don't think he's playing at that level right now. I think those extreme Jared Goff home away splits and narratives are playing a part a bit into this line as well. I just think that 7.5 is way too many. So I'm going to take Detroit plus 7.5. Probably sprinkle a little on the money line, but it's not really that I think the Lions win. I just think this line's inflated. So give me Lions plus 7.5 and give me the under at 51.5 in this game. If you want my top bets for all sports parlays of the day, or you want to join our Discord, head over to KyleKirms.com. The information's right there on the homepage. Let's have ourselves a great conference championship Sunday. Remember to bet responsibly, and I will talk to you in the Discord.